Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Behind the Court podcast. My name is Karina, and today I'm joined by Coach Nate. Oh, I didn't clarify how to pronounce your last name. That's the thing.
Nate Gangelhoff.
Nate Gangelhoff.
Gangelhoff. There you go.
That's a pretty last name, though.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Appreciate it.
today I'm joined by Coach Nate Gangelhoff from Carson-Newman University. He has been building a strong and competitive program that's getting more and more attention every single year, known for hard work, team culture, and developing players on and off the court. So if you're a player who is thinking about college tennis or just curious what it's like behind the scenes at Division Two program, you're gonna love this episode. So um,
Definitely.
Coach Gangelhoff, thank you so much for joining today.
Yeah, absolutely, Corinne. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to speak about our program, about our university, and just all the great things about being a Carson Newman Eagle.
Perfect. So we'll start by talking about your background, and
Mhm.
let's kick it off light. You are not allowed to say the word tennis,
Ooh,
but
okay.
you have to tell me how did you get into the sport?
So I started when I was 5 years old, and my parents loved to play that sport. And it was at a park, and I was more interested in the playground at the time. But I remember one time my brother was sick or something like that, so I went to the playground all by myself, and I had nothing to do. So instead of just playing on the playground, I went to go onto the court instead. And my parents immediately was like, yeah, pick up the racket and let's see how much you like it. And immediately, fell in love with it at age 5. And it just kind of went from there. I went to, the small kid camps. Of course, I was the best one there because I was the only one actually playing year round. And then that translated into middle school, rec teams, then went on to play high school teams, wanted to pursue it collegiately, loved it with the college team style, and kind of did it as a family. I went to coming from Oregon, then went to a Florida school, just loved it all around. Didn't want to stop there. I went to an academy in South Florida to continue that, and also fell in love with coaching. Didn't think I would, but I did, and I also missed the team aspect. So tried to compete competitively and professionally. It didn't work out, but I think definitely for the better, because I think from a coaching aspect, it's more rewarding and just
Hmm.
much more fun when you have a team around you and it's not all by yourself.
Hmm. I thought it's gonna be way harder, but it was so easy for you.
I'm a former communications major, and also I was a major in theater when I was an undergrad. So improving, I got you, Karina.
That's so funny. So you said that you didn't expect that you were going to become a coach. Is it because you wanted to play professionally, or was there anything else that was your dream to become?
I had multiple kind of dreams, or just definitely interests when I was in college. Like I said, it started with theater, but I had no idea what I was going to do with that as a career. I just knew that I liked it and I got a
Mhm.
scholarship for it along with tennis. So it just seemed like an easy choice. Turns out the theater program gets discontinued in the middle of my time at college. So now my brain's like, well, now what are you gonna do? What is college? What does life look like after college? My brain goes, well, I don't know. We just love tennis, so let's just kind of figure it out from there. And then starting from like coaching little kids, like sometimes that is very very fun and rewarding. There are a lot of people who have a lot more patience than even I thought I had. Like I thought I had a good amount, but there are people who have a lot more. And they're amazing human beings. And I try to have that much patience. And there are times where I do, and sometimes where I don't. So I'm like, okay, so maybe not coaching itty bitty kids all the time. You can every now and then, but not all the time. But I just miss the team aspect, the atmosphere where if you are the last match on, you need your point to win as a team, and you win it, and you're embraced with so many people who love you and who are cheering for you. I don't think there's any other better feeling in sports. The only thing I could kind of somewhat compare to would be like if a basketball player made a last second shot at the buzzer to win it and people stormed the court for you. I
Hmm.
mean, that's the closest thing I could imagine
Hmm.
like. But coaching, I found it to be so easy for me, and I didn't expect that. I didn't know why it came so easy to me. I think it's just more of I got great coaching as a junior. I also got some not so great coaching, so I knew what not to do, and
Mhm.
I kind of feel like, okay, this is kind of a good experience. And I had a great coach in college who felt like a father figure to me. So from that aspect as well, I'm like, I would love to replicate that,
Mhm.
for my players as well.
Do you know a lot of people are arguing that if you're a good tennis player, it doesn't mean that you're a good coach, and vice versa. If you're not the best player, you can be a good coach. Do you agree with that? What's your perspective on it?
I think there's some truths sentiments in those statements. I think you can definitely be a great player and be a great coach, and
Mhm.
I think it really just comes down to how you communicate and how you translate those skills that you are trying to teach, or try to teach the fundamentals, the techniques, strategy in tennis, and how to communicate that. And also for every tennis player, every tennis player is different. Every tennis player gets information differently.
Mhm.
So being able to communicate in various ways, I think, is also super important. So yeah, not every tennis player is going to be a
Mhm.
great tennis coach, and not every tennis coach was a good tennis player. So definitely there's a mix of both. I think it comes down to
Mhm.
how you communicate, and I think you could see that in multiple sports, on any kind of level. You see
Mhm.
plenty of coaches who played at the professional level and then coach at the professional level, or maybe who were terrible, that didn't have the physical attributes to compete professionally, but they had the brain for it and they had the communications for it, so they were able to share that information. So I think from that perspective, there's some
Mhm.
truth sentiment for sure, but I think it comes down to communication and how you lead people and how you communicate and to teach.
Mhm. Except communication and leadership, what do you think are some of the other aspects that make somebody a great coach?
I think just being relatable and being able
Mhm.
to say to your players that, hey, I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to also share my just like human experiences. I think a lot of times you see players and coaches where someone's on a pedestal. Someone
Mhm.
is maybe too high, higher than the other. Now, of course, especially in the collegiate ranks, there has to be some sort of authoritative respect from a player to the coach. But on the other hand, I had a coach who I felt like I could share just my life with, and he felt the same way about us. And he shared, multiple
Mhm.
stories about us. He shared his testimony with us, and he shared kind of like his life stories. So I never felt like I couldn't go to him or couldn't go to his office and like step on eggshells, like none of that. I think
Mhm.
for a coach, they have to be relatable to be a really, really good coach, so that players can talk to them. And I think that develops great relationships on the court or on the field. And then that translates into great, personal relationships to build great people once college is over. I fully believe in that. I want to have relationships with players that last 40 years and not just 4 years, not just because of their tennis, but because of I care about them as people.
Mhm.
I care about their success after college. And a great example is I'm going to a wedding in July of my two former players who got together from the team, and they invited me to their wedding,
Oh.
and they didn't have to. Like, did I kind of make it happen because I recruited both of them? Maybe, but but they didn't have to invite me to their wedding, and they did. So something like that just kind of tells me that I'm doing a good job. I'm kind of doing the right things to lead these younger people to have a great life and a successful life as much as possible.
Mhm. That's so funny that you're saying that two of your players that they got together now they're inviting you to their wedding.
Crazy.
Technically, it's because of you. You helped them
Technically,
out.
yes. Technically, yeah. If I wasn't around, maybe it would never have happened. I don't know. I just made it possible. I didn't do anything else outside of that.
Yeah, but I agree with you, especially coming from somebody who plays college tennis right now. I really want in the future to keep being in touch with my coach as well, just because, for the most part, we're not gonna play professionally tennis. So coach is literally about building connections, building relationships with different people. And if you spend 4 years at least of your life contributing to something and investing into something, it will be really sad if after 10 years you have nobody to talk to,
Mhm.
um, who was part of your journey. So that's great that you're trying to stay in touch with all of your players. And you kind of mentioned that you think coaching is pretty easy for you. What's one weird or unexpected skill that you've picked up along the way in your coaching journey?
Oh, good question. For some reason, teaching serving came so easily to me. I think it's just from like a
Mhm.
mechanic standpoint, and just went. I guess in a way, for me, it's easier because the ball is not moving, the player is not moving, so you're taking out a lot of different aspects that we as
Mhm.
tennis players have to deal with all the time. So
Mhm.
really, the serve. I mean, the player that I'm teaching, they're in control of everything. They're in control of the toss. They're in control of the timing. They're in control of a lot of different aspects. So for me, it was kind of easy to break it down to show what a good example is and what a bad example is and what the end result should look like. And it's a lot easier when the player's not moving, the ball's not moving. So I think from that aspect, it came very, very easy for me to teach serving. And I've kind of gotten a lot of great feedback from either clients as just giving tennis lessons or from players. They're like, my serve is now game changing in a way, because and not maybe not
Mhm.
because they're just hitting 112 miles per hour aces all the time, but just because now it's consistently going in. It's one less thing they have to worry about.
Mhm.
So stuff like, I think that was most the most one that I thought kind of came easy. I really love learning more and more strategy and just kind of different dynamics of the game. I think I have a very
Mhm.
quick tendency to overcomplicate things. So I also had to take myself back and be like, okay, sometimes you just have to put a ball in play. Like
Mhm.
just put the ball over the net, maybe away from them, and see what happens.
Mhm.
Like a lot of times we overcomplicate things. And sure, there are great things to look at in terms of percentages, in terms of tendencies that can help for sure.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, sometimes you just got to put a ball over the net more times than your
Mhm.
opponent. That's sometimes that's all it takes. So I think kind of understanding that has really helped too.
Yeah, that's so true about putting the ball in. This year, I had a situation that I played twice against the same person,
Hmm.
and the girl played the exact same game style as I do. So, first match when we played against each other in regular season, I tried to beat her by being myself, kind of, and see whose
Hmm.
level was better. So, I lost against her 7-6, like 11-9 on tiebreak, 6-3 second set, and then we met up again in the finals of conference tournament. And first set, I tried to do the exact same thing. I'm gonna beat her by playing my style. And then after first set, I lost at 6-4. And I was thinking, okay, maybe it's not gonna work. Let me just try to put every single ball in and we will see how
See
that
what
goes,
happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, maybe we had rallies of like 20, 30 shots every single time. But second
Hmm.
and third sets, I won 6-0, 6-2 just by putting the ball
Well
in.
done. Well done.
Thank you. But I just wanted to support your idea of, yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes that's all it takes. You just have to put
Hmm.
one more ball than your opponent does, especially
Exactly.
like on our Division Two level, NIAA schools, like college tennis in general.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So you mentioned about serve that that's something you kind of feel proud of that you
But
can teach in a certain way.
yeah.
So, do you think it's very personalized thing, or would you be able to give a general tip that maybe would help players to improve their serves?
I think everyone's going to have a different rhythm or a different kind of
Hmm.
setup or routine, which is totally okay. I think for that aspect, I think individuality is actually great, and it's super fun to see different players with their creativity and also just with the routine what works for them. But the number one
Hmm.
thing that every tennis player should have in terms of consistency for a great serve is a toss. The toss has to be there, because if it's a
Hmm.
bad toss, it will be a bad serve. I think one of the greatest analogies that I got from one of my coaches. So this is not me. So if it's bad, don't blame me. Blame my former coach. But he said that a toss in it for a serve is comparable to a relationship. If it's a bad toss, then it can also be a bad. It could end in something bad. So if it's a bad relationship, it could also end in something bad. A good-ish toss, sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad, but eventually it will let you down. It has to be a great toss. It has to be exactly where it needs to be. It needs to be reliable. It needs to be something that you can always depend on. And it needs to always, like, the spot or the relationship needs to be encouraging to you that it's the right thing to do and it's the right time to do it, like, sort of deal. So that was it was a long way of saying the toss needs to be very consistent. It needs to be right where in the spot. And for every obviously type of serve, the toss is going to look different, which is fine. But if you're going to toss a ball very differently from a flat to a kick. So if your toss is a slice, but you're relying kick, but you're still trying to hit it, like, it's just going to be bad. So I think the toss aspect is actually very, very not talked about enough with serving. I think you see it when it's wrong. I think there are still plenty of even pro players who just kind of toss just to start the point, even though they might have a good serve only when the toss is good, but they'll still hit a bad toss. So I think the toss naturally should be always something that's worked on and practiced on. So I think from that perspective, having a good toss gives you always a fighting chance to have a good serve.
Yeah, I remember growing up, whenever I had my coach, even before I got to college, he showed pictures of Serena Williams making a toss for her serve, and it looks the exact same every single serve, which is crazy, but that's probably why she was so good,
That's why she's great. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I kind of pride myself too, where I can just, take this ball and, like, toss it, and it's the exact same spot. I could close my eyes, and it's right there every single time. So I think having that same kind of routine is good. And I think for tennis players who want to get a better toss, they should honestly, like, hold a tennis ball at all times when they're on the court and just, like, start tossing it to themselves. That's natural routine. They're going to look silly, but if you're on a tennis court, you may not look that silly. And you'll be surprised at how quickly that your muscle memory catches up to you with your toss.
Have you ever tried to make a serve with your eyes closed?
No, I haven't done that. I don't trust myself enough to not hit myself in the racket. So no, I haven't done that.
But do you think, like, with you saying that you can toss the ball the exact same way without considering the fact that you might hit yourself, do you think you would be able to serve?
Fair. I'm very confident that I would make contact. I have zero confidence after that.
Well, it's still a great point.
Yeah.
Okay, so for my next question, if someone made a documentary movie about your life as a coach, how would you call this documentary movie?
Oh gosh, what a question. Put me on the spot on that one. Probably something related to, like, competitive passion, something like that, because I'm naturally competitive. I think as tennis players, most of us are anyway. I grew up playing multiple sports, and I didn't really, hook just to tennis until high school. I played, the kind of the traditional American sports of baseball, soccer, basketball, football, all the way up until high school. And then tennis was just kind of like on the side. And then just because my family played it, and then I didn't really compete hard into it until I was in high school. But competitiveness was just always kind of there. But then just kind of passion, for the sport, for the players, and really just the all around sport of tennis. I'm just very, very passionate about, working in tennis retail and sales, got to know the business side of it, and then got to get down to the real, like, nerdy stuff of string and rackets and how things are built and why they're built like this. Just very, very competitively passionate, or passionately competitive. I don't know. One of those two I think would work. So you tell me.
But I think it's a great combination of words. Do you think you're competitive just when it comes to, like, sports stuff, or just in life in general?
My wife would tell you that I'm competitive brushing my teeth sometimes. So no, I probably will find some a lot of things to be competitive. I'm trying to tone it down and trying to be like, okay, it's not a race to the parking lot with your coworker who has no interest in racing. It's just like, just walk to your car, be a normal person. But no, I think there's always great aspects and great timing to be competitive. I think that's when, you can bring out the best in other people too, and kind of see, where you are like-minded with other people. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's definitely fun times to be competitive, but other times where I'm like, okay, need to calm down. It's not a race to, brush your teeth first, or it's not a race to see if you can make the best coffee or whatever.
Mhm. So I know that players on your team, they have been earning certain awards, for all conference players for a second team.
Mhm.
Could you give me a sneak peek into what a typical week looks like for your team? From practice to classes, team bonding activities. How
Yeah.
is it built?
Yeah, definitely. So let's just say we're in season, we're in spring season and we're going. If we're kind of starting off the week where, we are wanting to have our team players be physically fit as best as possible and in shape. So they're going to have a pretty traditional, you know, schedule where they're going to get a fitness session in with our strength and conditioning coach.
Mhm.
And that's going to be about an hour or so, either at 7 or 8 a.m., something like that. And then they'll have classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Your classes are going to be the same. And Tuesday, Thursday, classes, those are going to be the same as well. And traditionally, those classes are going to be like 9, 10, 11,
Mhm.
maybe a break at 12 for lunch, another class at 1 or something like that. And then Tuesday, Thursday is kind of very, very similar. Your classes are going to be more typically in the morning. Our afternoon time is designated for practice time. So we have 6 courts on our campus, which is great. Because I'm also coming from a school that didn't have courts on campus. So that's
Mhm.
been a big, nice change for me to kind of go right from my office, right, walk 2 minutes, 3 minutes to the courts. So that's been a great change for, kids can do the same. They can walk from their dorm rooms and go right to practice. And we'll practice about 2 hours, and every practice is going to be different in terms of what we are doing. We will always be competitive, as you've gotten to understand me. That I think that brings out the best in us. So we will definitely be competitive in every practice that we do. But every practice is going to look different, and whatever we're focusing on specifically, in singles, doubles, competing, conditioning, um, hard baseline, ground stroke stuff, or we're focusing on net play. Every practice is going to look a little bit different. I think that's a good fresh perspective for all of our players to know that, all right, I have no idea what Coach Nate has for us today, so gotta be ready for everything, sort of deal. um, so that's going to be, kind of our typical Monday through Friday. Since I coach both men and women, I try to separate the practices, because for me, I find it very, very beneficial for myself and for our players that I can have just 2 hours devoted for our women's
Mhm.
team, and then just 2 hours devoted to our men's team, or vice versa, so that they're getting proper coaching from me and my
Mhm.
assistants, that I'm really just focused on them and those players at that time for their individual help, for the team help, and all that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And yeah, our team bonding, that's going to vary week to week just because of, I mean, spring schedule. You kind of know how it is with, like, you might have a random match on a Tuesday afternoon. You're like, just totally throws off everything. But we kind of make it fun, with it. One of my favorite team bonding moments, though, is my wife and I will host family dinner over at our house because we don't live too far
Mhm.
away. And we love that. We love having our team over for what we call family dinner. We'll play some fun, silly games and just have a really great time with each other,
Mhm.
and kind of get a little bit away from the court in a good sense, get away from class, get away from, the whole college life, and, also being able to feed, 20 plus kids is always very interesting too, and all the different personalities from different countries all in one room, and it's just great family time.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of fun for us to do that. But I think for us, it's just about being together, not necessarily what we do, but just being together, whether that is family dinner. Definitely want to go do, I think there's like a mini golf place that's not too far from our campus. So I'm like, that'd be interesting. Let's see how good they are with mini golf, or see what happens there. Getting our kids anywhere outside of tennis court where they can still be competitive, that gets really fun. that gets really fun. I've heard already trash talking about bowling, or we went to Top Golf, and the trash talking was awesome. So stuff like that is phenomenal where we can do that, and
Do you have a
those
No,
are
go
the
ahead.
memories those are the memories that you really remember. You remember some matches, you remember some moments, maybe individually, you'll remember the team moments on court for sure. But the more like solid memories, especially for me when I was a player as well, were the team moments, the memories, and the that were made kind of off the court when you're all together.
You just brought up something I wanted to ask you about in my next question.
Okay.
Is there a specific moment from this past season that still gives you chills when you think about it? It can be something on the court, off the
Mhm.
court with the team. Yeah, just specific story maybe that you can share.
Uh, there's so many. Because this is my first year at Carson-Newman,
Hmm.
so a lot of it was just I get to you kind of sit back now and just like everything that kind of comes to mind just puts a huge smile on my face. So it's
Hmm.
hard to pick one. Obviously, from a tennis court and tennis competitive standpoint, our men's team had a great run this year. We lost to LMU in the regular season 4-1, and then we played them in the first round of conference and flipped the score on them and won 4-1. And they were 25th ranked at the time. So that was pretty crazy. Remember, it's that same feeling when our number 3, 4, I think our number 4 had clinched it for us, and everyone storming the court, and just going crazy. I think I threw my hat or something like that because I was so excited. So that's definitely a special moment too. And I think there's, actually on the same day, there was another special moment, but at the time, I think for our girls, it didn't feel that special. So, kind of in reverse order, we had beaten I think, number 33rd ranked team. It was Coker during the regular season, 4-2, and they were ranked at that time too. So that was a huge win, and we had a great embraceful moment with the girls who from our number 5, I think, who clinched it for us at that time. We go to conference, play Coker again. We end up losing 3-4. Truly, heartbreaking, really, really sad. But our girls fought really hard. Was super proud of them. And I kind of took a moment back, kind of got away from them just for a little bit, but observed them. But I wanted to kind of collect my thoughts, try to encourage them and support them. And what I saw was all of them just circling together. And like we do every after every practice and before every match, we do what we call our team huddle, where we actually link arms, and it's kind of like symbolic that we're all in this together. We all support each other, kind of like I got your back, you got mine sort of mentality. And they did it on their own. They came together even after a 3-4 loss, which is really heartbreaking. And they're sad, they're crying, understandably so. I was close to crying too. And they did it on their own. And I couldn't be more proud of them in that moment. And if they know that, great. If they don't, I'll always tell them. But that sort of thing where I'm like, yes, it's sad, but man, that's how I kind of know also that I'm doing the right things, that they're doing that on their own and they're supporting each other on their own. So even though it's in the midst of heartbreak and sadness, it's still a good thing. It's still something that makes me happy.
Yeah, that's so sweet. Like the fact that they're together. Doesn't matter if you win or lose, because coach tennis is probably the only experience where we are not playing just for ourselves, but there are at least 5 other people or more who you have to fight for. So that's awesome that they did it, and I cannot imagine how it felt for you
Yeah.
to see
I took a
that.
picture. I took a picture of it too, just because I knew that I wanted to remember that moment. Because I was like, that's very, very sad overall, but definitely
Mhm.
not disappointed in them or upset at them. Actually more proud of them than anything.
So you said it was your first year at Carson-Newman. What's
Yeah.
some of the areas that you're most focused on growing within the program right now?
I think for me, on our men's side, with our top 6, we had lost 4 guys because they all graduated.
Mhm.
So immediately wanting to build back that competitive aspect to keep us competitive in the conference. I think that's always the first goal for any coach who wants to be at the competitive level. I think for our conference, we have a very good, very strong conference. So I definitely have to recruit in that way to get that. And, with me just, being here since December, this program hasn't had the stability that it deserves. So for me, I'm looking to create that stability, not just with my presence of being here, but leading by example, building the program, building up relations, and kind of getting us more involved with the community. I think for us at Carson-Newman, we're in a smaller town. We're in Jefferson City, Tennessee, which is east of Knoxville. Not super big, but definitely a great town that's growing. And it's going to be really important for us and for myself to grow relations and grow our Carson-Newman tennis name kind of in our community. And that's what I want our players to do as well. And that's something that we had talked about in kind of like my first team meeting with them, was that when you guys go out in the community, you represent us, you represent the school, you represent our tennis team name. And I want people in the community saying, wow, this Carson-Newman player hold the door open for me. Like stuff like that, is something that I fully expect our players to do. So from kind of going into staying competitive at all times, at being high in our conference, from, having stability and growth in our program, whether it is expansion of, our facilities in any kind of way, or just perfecting what we have, and then just being able to have greatness in our community and name recognition in our community is definitely where I like to kind of challenge myself and challenge our program to go.
These are awesome goals. It's nice that you didn't say, yeah, we want to have 25-0 record in the season. Obviously every coach.
Oh yeah, that's
wants
great,
that.
but got to be realistic too.
Yeah, but I like that you have something more than just like tennis specifically, results focused goals. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, we will transfer more into recruiting block of the questions. And with you, I would like to discuss something what you're looking for in the emails, because you have international players. So it's not like you can come and watch different tournaments and see people actually playing. So for the first question, what makes an email from a recruit stand out to you?
For me, it's the first thing is obviously when they introduce themselves, they kind of list the quick information like where they're from, how old they are, and that's and where they're looking to enroll. Because I've had emails where like I'm so and so from this country, and then nothing else in the email saying when they would be coming, and not even. And I think most players actually do a good job. They say fall 25 recruit, fall 26 recruit. I'm like, great, now I know what to expect. And then I've gotten into an email where I'm like, oh, I'm not actually going to commit to a school until fall of 27, 28. I'm like, great. It's not helpful for me right now. Like, nice to meet you, but it's not really, I'm not there yet, sort of deal. Like, I think that has happened at times. But then also when they are addressing me or someone, they should be addressing the appropriate coach. I've had, recruit players call me Coach Smith before, or they're like, hey, I'm really interested in Edward University. I'm like, we're not even close. We're not even close. So that has happened. Even I think last month, something like that happened. And they even called our we're the Eagles, and they said at the very bottom, go Sharks, or whatever. I'm like, all right, so we're 0 for 3. That's, for me, that's an instant delete, because I have maybe a same caliber player who did their homework and did all the things necessary to make it a good email. So errors aside, good email, introduction to themselves, where they're from, give me all the basic information, especially for an international player. We're going to want some sort of English proficiency score, like a Duolingo, TOEFL, something like that. We're going to want an estimated GPA. I know for a lot of international players, they're not going to have a great idea of what their GPA equivalent will be, which is understandable. So as long as something's mentioned in there, like I'm in the process of getting that info, or I think it will be this based off of what an agency told me or what friends have told me, something like that. So I know that they're thinking about it. And of course, we want to know their UTR just so that we have a baseline idea, or I have a baseline idea where they're at. And I know I get a lot of questions of like, do you base everything on UTR? No, but it does have a lot of weight to it, because especially if we're looking to be competitive and we want to win, what's what we're here for, I need to have an understanding of where you're at. If I have a male player that says I'm a 9.5, I'm like, okay, tells me you're not a 7, tells me you're not a 12. You're in that middle. You're getting better. You're looking to compete. I also look at results where if you're a 9.8, but you went 3 sets with a 10.6, great, awesome. But that also means you can't have a 1-1 loss to a 7. It is. We do have to have some consistency, in that regard, and especially when we are talking about scholarships, there has to be that kind of like realistic expectations. So there for sure. I don't mind players telling me a little bit about their playing style, but I let the videos do that, kind of speak for themselves. And I know a lot of players will include, and should include videos with their email recruits and emails and everything like that. And then, yeah, I mean, very, very quickly with videos, always point the camera to the back where I can see where the ball's going, ideally, not facing you where it's in front of the net. And then I don't mind, a couple of shots or, from a couple forehands, couple backhands, but I've seen videos where it was 5 minutes on forehands, 5 minutes on backhands. I'm like, I get it after 30 seconds. We're good. I'm looking for, and what I look at in those videos is I look at footwork, I look at consistent swing path, and I look at ball height over the net. Like, I know you think you can hit a forehand. I want to see how consistently you hit that. Same thing on the backhand side, and look at volleys. If I see a player who hits volleys with 0 footwork, I instantly kind of have like a red, yellow, orange flag, where I'm like, do you really know how to hit a volley, or are you just getting like baby fed? I don't know. So I do look at those things. But the most important thing to me is match play. And I love the unedited, almost like live match play, where a player's in a tournament and someone just press records and just doesn't touch it, doesn't touch the camera, because then I see everything. And I actually enjoy watching those, because I don't just watch the point. I watch the player after the point. What does their body language say? How do they prepare for a point? Do they have a routine? Do they have something that shows me that they have some sort of a mental game? Super, super important to me. And that's obviously super important for me to get all that. And then, closing part of the email, I definitely prefer not just the email contact information, but a secondary way to get a hold of them. Usually with international players, it's going to be through WhatsApp. So a WhatsApp number for sure is going to be critical and very, very helpful. And if I reach out, or if a coach reaches out or even responds to email, please respond back. It happens. I've had players who don't respond back, even if they've moved on, which is totally fine. If they find their spot, great. Just let me know so I don't keep bothering you. So that's, I think that was a long way of saying what I'm looking for in those emails.
But that was a great kind of like template how players can build their email. So I think it was a great feedback. You kind of already mentioned some of the errors that you notice in emails.
Yeah.
Are there any other common mistakes, red flags that players have when they try to reach out?
So I feel like for me, and I think this is not controversial, but I think every coach is different with this. Some coaches say, don't talk about scholarships or money in the email. And I'm kind of in the middle. I've received emails or messages that are saying I need a full scholarship, like right out of the gate, which I think instantly is a red flag, because they're either thinking that they're that great and that they need that, or maybe in a different, almost upside of that, they know that they are in financial, like they need that financial help to afford to come to the States for tennis, which I totally understand. There are many international players who just struggle financially through no fault of their own, which I get. I totally understand. But there still has to be some sort of like professionalism to talk about money, to talk about what scholarships look like. I have no problem with international players saying what their budget is. Actually, I kind of prefer it because again, it kind of checks a box of like, okay, where are you at? Where does it make sense for us? Does it not make sense for us? Just so that I can respond appropriately. Because I also don't want to waste their time, and I don't want to waste my time where I'm, 4 or 5 emails in and then also messaging them back and forth. And then all of a sudden I am way out of their budget. Like won't even be close. I'm like, well, dang, I feel like I wasted your time and borderline my time a little bit. If I had known this even in the first email, I would have been like, hey, I'm sorry, we can't reach your budget. Best of luck to you. Hope you find your college. Done. So every college coach is different. My personal preference is I have no problem with people saying their budget, as long as there's no like, I need this, I need that, and don't talk to me if you can't sort of deal, which I'm like, that's how some people are with things, which is fine. But personal preference, as long as there's like some sort of open conversation about what their budget is, what they can afford, then I'm like, okay, that's good. There's open conversation there.
Yeah, that's great feedback. And you said that every coach will have a different perspective. That's why I'm trying to ask different coaches pretty much similar questions, so people can get an idea what to expect. Do you prefer hearing from players directly or through parents or agencies, or it doesn't really matter to you?
I prefer the player individually. I don't mind talking to agencies because I know that's their job, and I know that they're able to canvas a wide range of players in a certain section better than I can. That's their job. So I do appreciate them, and I do appreciate the job that they do. I have found some inconsistency with communication in that regard, so it can get frustrating. In that way. And it's not, of course, not all agencies. Some agencies that I work with are phenomenal. They're very communicative, and those are the ones I keep going back to. Other ones where I'll hit a home run with a player, and then a second player, it's a total flop. And usually not even for tennis reasons, it's more behavior reasons. And that's where I feel like sometimes some agencies can fall short of. So I definitely prefer to hear the player, but I appreciate the work that agencies do. I never mind talking to parents either, just because I would like to put them at ease of sending their son or daughter to me in a way, because it's a big decision. It's a big life moment. And if I can do anything to help ease that stress and put more reassurance into them of how they're going to get taken care of and how they're going to be treated, then I'm all for it. I think with anything, though, there is a fine line of too much, but I haven't experienced that yet. So I think there's good kind of transparency between players and parents with that, but never mind talking to them, but would definitely prefer to talk to players more often than not.
That's a great feedback, and especially it probably gives you some type of personal connection more, because players share their own initiative that they want to get to college.
For sure. And I've signed players without ever talking to them, just because they only spoke through their agency, which does tell me, some things about them. Not necessarily all negative things, but it does tell me a good sense of that. And I've, of course, have signed players who had no agency, and I just talked to them. So it can happen both ways. I would say majority of the time, if I don't talk to the player, it's rare that I sign them, but it has happened before. But with that understanding, it comes down to, do we think they're a good fit? Do they think they're a good fit for the program? And also to call a place home. Do they feel like this is where they can call home? And at the end of the day, that's what matters. And if it works, great. And if not, then that's what transferring is for. So, and we never wish that. We never want a player to transfer unless it is for behavioral reasons. But with that, we want players to feel welcome here. We want players to feel like that they have a home here.
Yeah, awesome point of view about it. Before we jump into the last part, which will be game, is there anything else that you would like to share about yourself, about the team, about the program, about the city?
Yeah, I mean, Carson-Newman has been just such a life-changing experience for me as a coach, and being able to come in mid-season and to be with the players that I have even now, and even the ones that have already graduated. It was such a awesome turnaround, and the feedback that I've gotten from players, from my leadership, from parents, is that they see me as someone who can really just uplift this program and
Hmm.
excel it super to great levels. And I won't do it just by myself. I'm going to do it with my players too. I don't want to do it by myself. So when I recruit players, I want them to be great competitors. I want them also to help us win, of course, but I also want them just to be great people.
Hmm.
I don't recruit bullies. I don't recruit mean people. We want players who want to be a part of something special on and off the court, and we want players who will make great relationships and great lasting memories on our team, that they will feel like part of the family. And that's what we're all about. All of our
Hmm.
girls teams feel like they're sisters. All of our guys team feel like that they're brothers. They hang out all the time together. It's a special moment. It's a special place to play tennis, and it's certainly nothing you'll ever forget.
That's a great way that you address to your team as a family. I think that's something that everyone wants to expect, especially, for international players. Most of them would come to the country, and you're probably the only person who they talk to on the phone a few times. So that's
Mm-hmm.
great that you're trying to build a
Yeah.
family with them. Okay, so
Yep.
for the last part, we're gonna play a game which is called Two Truth and One Lie. First,
Okay.
I'll tell you three facts about myself. I
Okay.
tried to tie them to tennis, and you tell me which one you think is a lie about me, and
Okay.
then we will flip it and I will try to
Flip it.
guess
Okay.
about you.
Sounds good.
Okay, so first fact, my parents have a tradition to pour a basket of water on me after I win a tournament.
Okay.
That was first fact. Second fact, throughout my 3 years of college career, I have never won a clinch match whenever the overall score was 3-0.
Okay.
And for the third one, once for a trip to Mississippi, I forgot my tennis racket, so I had to use a racket of my head coach.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I'm really I'm really wanting the first one to be true, because that sounds awesome. So I'm actually gonna go with the lie being the second one. I feel like you have won those matches, some of those matches.
I wish it was a lie.
Dang it.
I genuinely wish. I think through 3 years of my college career, I played 3 or 4 clinching matches whenever the overall score was 3-0. No, unfortunately, never turned to
Bummer.
yeah, my side. But you were right with my parents' tradition, and I never expected, and I'm so naive every single time because they make it so not suspicious. For
Okay.
example, my mom would say, "Oh yeah, let's take a picture of you kissing the trophy for your grandma." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." And then my dad comes from behind and pours the basket of water on me,
I love
or
it.
I won regionals in B draw and singles my sophomore year, and obviously my parents are they're in Germany right now, so they cannot do anything. So my dad actually texted my roommate and asked her to do this. So she asked our other friend to come up with an idea how they can do it. So they made up this whole story that our friend's mom, she needs pictures of athletes from our school for her article, whatever. So I was posing for pictures outside, and then my roommate came and she poured the water on me. So that tradition is true.
Love
Yeah,
it.
third one is the lie. Once I forgot shoes to my practice, but I never
Okay.
forgot a tennis racket
Never forgot the
from the
rackets. I was
trip.
always terrified of that. So I would put the shoes on top of the tennis bag at the front of the entrance of my dorm room, so that I could
Hmm.
never like forget. I could forget everything else. Maybe, but we never forget those things, because I've had teammates who do that same thing. I did have a teammate who didn't bring his rackets. So that was interesting.
Okay, well, I'm ready for yours.
All right. First fact about me is that I play two-handed backhand. Second fact is I've met Roger Federer. And the third fact about me is I was a hitting partner for Olympic gold medalist Monica Puig.
Ooh, that's a hard one. I want to believe that you've met Roger Federer and that you were a hidden partner for Monica Puig. So I'll say that the first one is a lie.
You're right. I'm a one-handed backhand. Very
Yay!
good job. Very good job. Yeah, actually, the photo behind me, that is little me with Roger Federer. I don't. It could be blurry, but yeah, that's something that was. I was 12 years old, something like that, and yeah, the moment I'll never forget is meeting my idol, my tennis idol for sure. Yeah, when I graduated college, I went down to the Everett Academy in Boca Raton, and Monica Puig at the time was trained down there, and she had just, this was summer of 2017, so she had just won Rio as the Olympic gold medalist, and got one, two, I think it was two times to just quickly hit with her, which was such an amazing time. Great practice session. One of the nicest people I've ever met in the pro career tour, and a goofball. She was super funny. I did not expect that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Another thing I'll ever forget there. So yeah, quite the fun experience. I was thinking about those. I'm like, okay, well, I have to share those two things, but then I have to say something that maybe sounds true, but could be a lie. So I'm usually not good at this game.
That's so funny because for one of my facts, I wanted to put that I've met Roger Federer at Roland Garros. And then I kind of forgot whenever I actually was writing down the script. But yeah, I think I was 7 years old, and we went to
Okay.
Roland Garros, and we had a pass to go to cafeteria where like all the players were getting food. So we were crossing there to get to the tennis courts, and we saw Roger Federer and, as my parents told me, Stan Wawrinka, and some other people that they were playing cards on the table. So as we were walking outside of the building, I started to scream to my dad, "Oh my gosh, I think I see Roger Federer!" Where he was literally right behind us.
Zero chill at all.
Yeah. So he was like, "Well, yeah, you can go and ask for autograph because picture would be kind of like, intervene to his personal space at that
Sure.
moment." So yeah, I just went and I gave him my little notebook and he signed it. So
What year was that?
that's a great question. Probably 2010, 11,
Okay.
around
Okay.
that time.
So I think that was the year just after he had won Roland Garros or something like that. So no, that was very good. Yeah, this was 2007. So the picture behind me, he's actually at the Nike headquarters, since I'm from Oregon. So my parents actually worked at the Nike campus, so it was actually a great opportunity. And that's when he had signed his RF logo from Nike. It was like a 10-year contract or something like that at the time. So he's there with press conference, and we're like in a private room with maybe 20 other people, and there's little old me with this blue Roger Federer Nike and NYC shirt, and he signs it and takes that picture. So yeah, lots of fun. Nicest guy.
Yeah, that's so true. Again, in my situation, he was sitting with his friends playing cards, but he still was super nice and like he agreed to give me his signature. So he's definitely an awesome person. I cannot believe that it's been 2 years since he retired. Year.
20.
Year.
That was 2020. Was it 2022 or 23? I think you're right. I think it was fall of 23 because it feels longer than that.
Yeah,
So
that's so true. But
yeah,
I cannot believe that it's been 2 years so far.
crazy.
Oof.
Crazy. When you were getting the autograph with Roger playing cards, was he playing cards with Wawrinka or something like that? Or
Well, at that point, at that moment, Wawrinka, he wasn't popular yet, so he wasn't in top rankings yet. So I didn't even know who this person was. So I didn't even
Just
like
ended up
care
being
about.
Wawrinka, who won 3 or 4 titles. No big deal.
Well, then afterwards, yeah, he did it. But at that
Right.
moment, that which right now I'm looking back, oh, how?
How? No, at that point, I would be getting, almost any tennis player's autograph. I remember the in 2016, I was a ball boy. This would also been another fun fact for me to share. I'll share it anyway. In 2016, we had Davis Cup in Beaverton, Oregon. It was USA versus Croatia. Yes, Croatia, and got awesome opportunity to be a ball boy for that. So you have on the American side, you have Jack Stock, the Bryan brothers, and John Isner. On Croatia side, you have Cilic, Borna Coric, and Ivan Dodig. Those were like the big names back then. And USA is up 2-0, wins both singles on the first day. The Bryan brothers somehow choke, couldn't believe it, and now it's 2-1 on the third day, last singles day. We choke all the matches. We end up losing 2-3. And of course, none of the Americans want to sign autographs. Of course, like they're so mad, which is understandable. But still, like you have little kids with the big jumbo tennis balls. They're looking at 6'10" John Isner with huge eyes, and they want an autograph, and they just walk by, which I get. They're mad. That's understandable. But still, but then the Croatia team's done, and Cilic and Coric and Dodig, they're signing everybody's autographs. I'm like, yes, I was a ball boy, but I don't care. I want their autographs. They just won. So it's just funny of how
I was such an autograph kid too. I had 500,000 balls signed. I had like this specific notebook that everybody would sign in. And I wasn't really smart enough to put the names. So for a lot of autographs right now, I have
you have no
zero
idea.
idea who these autographs belong to.
Awesome.
So that's funny. Well, anyways, that's all I had. You had amazing stories to tell. So
Thank you.
that's so awesome. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate your reacting to the post and showing your interest in participating.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Grant. This has been awesome to share more about myself and Carson-Newman, more importantly. So this has been really cool. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And for all of the listeners, I will leave a bunch of links below the video with links to the website for school, for the team, social media, contact information. So if anybody is interested in Carson-Newman, you have all of the sources to get an access to. So yes, I'll see you in the next episode.